Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Single Muslim Live, where I will be your new host, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. We are currently live on Sky, channel 752, as well as across Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So to all our viewers from all over the world watching across the different platforms, welcome. You can join the discussion tonight by calling in live on 0192 4231 Please do bear in mind standard rates do apply, so please make sure you have your bill payer's permission. You can also WhatsApp in any questions you have to join the discussion tonight on 07950797017. No worries if you missed out on the number. I will repeat them back to you during the show. Now, moving on, the show. Tonight's topic will be a very hot topic, and that's the challenges facing young Muslim women in finding a partner. And I've got the perfect guest to discuss this with you. We have our guest, who actually has recently graduated from SOAS, mashallah, and a young British Muslim. She has worked in London and has now gone all the way back up to West Yorkshire to continue her search for love. So on tonight's show, we'll be finding out how that's going for our special guest. And any questions you have, feel free to get in touch during the show. We'll also be asking her about the challenges she may be facing in pursuit of finding love. Before we begin, I would like you guys, if you have any questions or any topics you would like to discuss in the shows ahead, to make sure you do get in touch. Before we move on to the guest, I would also like to introduce to you our social media platforms. Make sure you are following us on Instagram, and that is at British Muslim TV, where you can always add in your comments, any questions, or any topics you would like us to discuss. Now, we all know society, British Muslim society, we're very dynamic, very diverse. There's different topics and challenges that we all go through, and if there's anything you think needs to be represented on this show, we're more than happy to discuss that with you. I hope you're all thinking of the different questions they're going to ask our guests tonight. Remember, the main theme is challenges facing young British Muslim women. Sorry, not British, global Muslim women. I will now introduce to you our guest, and that is Elena Nabila. Welcome, Elena.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for the introduction as well.
No worries at all. Now, we're all super excited to dive straight in. What do you believe are the challenges facing young Muslim women in finding a partner?
Well, really, I think there are so many problems really facing young Muslim women in Britain right now. Even if we don't think about in terms of love, we have so many issues we're facing. But if we're thinking about what are the main issues in terms of finding love, I mean, really, we need to be working on ourselves first and foremost, before we can even develop into finding a relationship. But if I was to put it down into our biggest problem, I would probably say for myself, from my own personal experience, it would be social media being the biggest problem that we're facing right now.
And what about social media? Because the thing is, with social media, it's always going to exist and we have to live with it. So what are the challenges to do with social media that you think affects young Muslim women across the globe?
Well, I think the first issue is actually the political economy of social media. So what is social media actually trying to do? And really the main function is for it to be the most addictive it can be for us in order for it to, you know, get the most money from advertisements. So it wants to keep us hooked. And when social media wants to keep you hooked, what's it enticing you with? I mean, primarily it's all about the image. You know, we're constantly worrying about the way we look. We're inundated with constant imagery of what is ideal, and we're missing really what is important, and that's really to travel within ourselves, you know.
So image, you think, is a key issue within social media. Now let's dive into that. Do you think it's to do with the beauty standards? What is the issue on social media?
Yeah, I definitely think it's beauty standards for women. I mean, we've seen mental health issues in teenage girls rising. I mean, I don't want to go so dark, but even suicide rates within young girls rising. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that is fake beauty standards. I mean, we're even seeing things like plastic surgery increasing so that women are looking more like filters that we're seeing on Snapchat. It's unrealistic. And who is deciding these beauty standards? That's what we really need to think about. On such a global platform, so many different races, so many different types of women, why are we conditioned to feel that we should be looking one certain type of way?
That is a very good point, Elena. So what would your advice be to young Muslim women who are facing this challenge, who have had their self-esteem knocked on social media, finding it hard to find a partner because of that? What would your advice be to them?
I think the first thing is to not be addicted. I know social media is made to be addictive, but we need to look at it before we dive into social media. We need to be aware and have better literacy in exactly what the functions of social media are. That would be the first step. I mean, next would be to travel within ourselves. I mean, we can't get the answers from
Sorry to cut
outside.
you off. What do you mean travel within ourselves? Can you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, traveling opens the mind. So whether we're traveling internationally, regionally, I mean, we're always opening our minds, but the best way to travel would be inside ourselves. I mean, there's a Rumi saying, you know, everything in the universe is within you. Ask all from yourself. And I think that's really important. I mean, whatever we're trying to find in the outside world, really, we need to be delving inside ourselves first. We have all the answers inside ourselves. We just need to be aware of how to do that.
That was a very beautiful quote. I want you to now talk to us on a personal level. What are the personal struggles you face as a young Muslim woman in finding your partner? Now, I know you're in West Yorkshire at the moment, still in the search. What are the challenges you are facing or have faced?
Well, I'll be honest, I haven't been trying to find someone per se in that way. I feel like when you concentrate on yourself, you're purifying yourself, then you will attract good energy in return. So at the moment, I'm focusing on myself, and hopefully that will bring love my way.
Hopefully, inshallah. I do hope love does come your way. In terms of previous experiences, is there anything you'd like to highlight to our viewers, young Muslim women watching this show, challenges you face? Because there may be some that actually resonate with what you have dealt with, and we can go forward with giving advice on that.
Yeah. I mean, I have friends who have been in situations in relationships where social media has caused a real issue. I mean, it's an easy way to make contacts. It's an easy way to speak to maybe a type of woman or a type of man you like the look of, but you're not really concerned about what that person is on a deeper level. So I think that.
So do you mean it's harder to? Sorry. Do you mean it's harder for people to be loyal because there are so many options now, and social media facilitates that?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you think about how social media and the algorithms used are so advanced, and say even the way that you look at an image, Instagram will recognize how you're looking at that image and whether you like it or whether you don't like it. And if it recognizes that you like a certain type of image that it's showing you, it will keep showing you that over and over again so that you stay addicted. And we need to be aware of what's happening here so that we don't get too caught up in this addictiveness and something that isn't real, you know? We don't know the inside of what's behind the picture.
Very interesting perspective you've given us, Elena. We've actually got a question for you coming on WhatsApp from a sister. Why do men think it is acceptable to DM women on Instagram without even knowing them? If you don't reply, they abuse you. Are we not safe as women online? That is a question that came your way. Did you hear me, Elena?
Yes,
so the sister on WhatsApp asked, why do men DM women on Instagram, and then when they don't reply, they abuse them?
I think that's probably men worldwide, really. It could probably come from insecurity, rejection, you know.
And this is actually our, are we not safe? What was that? Sorry, Elena.
Yeah, I mean, it even happens on the street. I mean, sometimes you find that men may say something to you out in public. You know, you're not feeling it, you're not appreciating the way that it's been spoken, and then before you know it, you're the victim of abuse. You know, I'm sure you've had it too. I'm sure a lot of
Yeah,
women
I
have
think
the same
we all
problem.
we've had our shared experiences. So, Elena, currently, the world we're in, everything is online. It is on social media. So how are we meant to meet our match if we're not on social media and we're not on these online platforms? We've just entered the tier 2 lockdown in London. So how do we actually go about meeting and finding a partner if we're not online?
I mean, I think the best way is to, first of all, be aware of what social media actually is and the political economy of it before you use it, to be literate in how it works. And for social media also, it's their responsibility to be more transparent. Apart from that, I think it's important to look beyond the picture. I mean, if you're on different dating sites or even matchmaking is different to social media, because you're not considering only what that person looks like. You're thinking about intentions that they have, maybe different religious views, different principles, and all of these make up a character and a person far beyond what their image can show you.
That is very true indeed. Now, Elena, and to all our viewers, just to let you know, a little background check to Elena. Elena, you are actually mixed heritage, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I'm mixed race.
And if you'd like to let our viewers know where you are from.
Sure. I'm half Pakistani and I'm half English.
And what is an interesting and very trending topic is whether you feel like any of your sides have been a challenge to you finding a partner.
Okay, that's an interesting one. I think obviously being half English, my dad being English, has posed some challenges in the Muslim community here in Bradford. I think what happens a lot of the time when I'm meeting the maybe older generation and I explain that one of my parents is English, I think the first question you get is he Muslim? And I say yes, he is. And then there's other questions. So, does he pray? Does he fast? And I'm constantly trying to, prove the fact that I'm Muslim with my counterparts who are not mixed race, don't have to do that in the same way. So I think that definitely posed some challenges to begin with. But I think a lot of people have a worry if you're mixed race and if you're half white, that means that maybe you're only half Muslim. I've had that before as well. Which is,
oh dear. That is something we have to speak on more, I guess, moving forward. While you was discussing that, Elena, we actually got a comment on WhatsApp, and that reads, I think today's women have high standards in what they want from a man. What is your take on that, Elena? Our WhatsApp viewer also said that nowadays men have to tick a lot of boxes. What is your view on that, Elena?
I mean, I think that could be true. I think that could be down to social media again. In the situation that we're in, we're expecting a lot because we're constantly seeing unrealistic expectations online, and we need to be more realistic with what we can offer and what someone else can offer in return. And we need to be open and honest about this too. But yeah,
brilliant. I mean, we actually have another,
Sorry, yeah, but
we have another question for you, Elena, on WhatsApp. And that question is it hard to meet someone if you're mixed race?
Well, I haven't met someone yet, so maybe that might answer the question. But apart from that, I mean, what I have actually found primarily is that even though I'm mixed race, I have been accepted into the Muslim community, no problem, because I am Muslim and, the Muslim community is diverse, especially because I've lived in Leicester, I've lived in London, I'm seeing a lot of different demographics. One thing I have found on the other side is that even though I'm half English, I've never been accepted into the English community. I mean, the non-Muslim white community will never accept me as their own, yet I'm happily accepted inside the Muslim community. So as long as I'm looking inside the Muslim community, which I am, I don't think it poses as many issues being mixed race as it would on the other sides.
Well, that is good to hear. That is brilliant. And Elena, so what would be the tick boxes that you require for a man to meet if you was to consider him as a life partner? I want you to name 3 boxes. Have a think.
Okay.
No rush.
3 boxes. I would probably have to say he has to be spiritual, so he has to look beyond, vanity, or he can't be shallow. I need him to be natural. Natural
in what way, Elena?
I need someone who isn't so obsessive with maybe the dunya or this modern way of living. I need to strip back into the real natural cause of life, whether that be, in terms of even down to eating naturally, practicing maybe natural medicine, natural healthcare, this kind of thing, I think would be really important to me. And the last thing that would be important would for him to be Muslim, of course, Muslim, yeah.
Of course. And that's
and
very interesting. My 3, I think it's kind of similar to what you said, really. It's just to avoid that superficial vibe, something more about inner work. And you know what, Elena? It's very interesting because you are a confident single Muslim lady. It must be hard to find a partner with such confidence and enthusiasm. Oh no.
So with such what? Sorry.
Enthusiasm and confidence.
Oh, do you think?
You're a very independent woman.
Yeah, I mean, I think some men can be intimidated by that, maybe. But as long as you're following in the right circles, you're sure of yourself, and it doesn't come from the ego. I think when it comes from the ego, then as soon as you start speaking from the ego, often your counterpart will start speaking from the ego too. As long as it's coming from the heart, then hopefully that can be recognized by another good heart.
Brilliant. You're throwing us some beautiful quotes tonight. For the young Muslim women watching this that might not have this confidence or independence that they're striving for, what would be your best advice?
It's definitely to look inside yourself. I mean, whatever you're trying to find on the outside, if you address that in yourself first, then that is always the best way to start. Definitely.
That is a very good.
That's where true confidence will come from.
I 100% agree. And you've given us your tick boxes as well. Brilliant. And moving forward, when you do eventually find your partner, inshallah, what do you want them to bear in mind or be more sensitive towards? Is it your half-white side? Is it social media? Is there anything in particular you want that person to have awareness on?
Definitely social media. Social media is, I don't think we realize how much it's shaping our society of today. I mean, over half of all young people get their news from social media. And I think if I were to be with someone, they would definitely have to be aware of what social media is doing, how much it knows about you, how sophisticated the algorithms are. And I'm not talking about, the smaller platforms. I'm talking about the big Zuckerberg platforms here. And if you're using them, then you have to be literate in how they're using you also. And I think that is a really important part of the relationship.
Oh, that's a very good way of putting it, how they're using you. It's almost like we're under control. How do you use social media, Elena? Now I'm curious.
We live in the age of information. So social media, as much as it's working against us, we can definitely use it for our own advantages. I mean, we're able to connect to so many people, access to so much information. So, yeah, I mean, I use it. I may even say that I have been addicted in the past. But the more that I've learned about it and the more I've studied social media, I think it makes me take a step back. And then it brings you back down to what's really important. And that's not what's online. That's what's in your heart.
That is another very deep quote. And it's so refreshing to hear a young Muslim woman throwing us so much wisdom on tonight's show. I actually have a question for you.
Okay, yeah, I'm excited.
Scenario. I'm going to give you a scenario.
Sure.
A man has just DM'd you on Instagram. You go on his page and you said you want someone natural, spiritual, full of Islamic quotes, full of his healthy diet. Are you going to not reply because it's on social media, but he is ticking every box you want, or at least prioritize?
Oh, that's a funny one.
Take
Yeah,
a think.
I would be open to it. Yeah, I would definitely be open to it. I think the older I get, the more easily I'm able to suss out who's serious and who's not. And, you know, social media doesn't do that for you. Social media has people that are both serious and not. So, yeah, the older I get, the more I can suss that out. And if I felt that he was ticking all the boxes, then maybe I would give it a chance, yeah.
Right. Well, it's a blessing to see that you're not completely against social media. We actually have another question for you coming in from WhatsApp, and that question, the question is asking, having a father that is black, do you think that the same amount of cultural pressure to get married for a woman? Very good question.
So could you just repeat that one for me?
No worries. Firstly, thank you so much for sending in that question. The question came through WhatsApp, Elena, and it asked, do you feel like, as someone that has a white father, is the cultural pressure the same? Is the same amount of cultural pressure on getting married for women?
Cultural pressure, sorry.
Yes, cultural pressure to get married for a mixed race woman. Do you feel like there's more cultural pressure considering the fact you come from a mixed heritage and have a white father? That is the question that came in.
That's interesting. I think I'm probably, compared to my counterparts who are not mixed race here in Bradford, I don't think I face as much pressure as they do to get married. Sometimes, I mean, of course, the diaspora is wide and it's varied. But yeah, I think what my mum has always taught me is whether you run to it or whether you run from it, if it's written for you, it will happen. So I just have to concentrate on purifying myself, and inshallah, it will work. So yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm lucky that I don't face the same pressure, but that doesn't mean that my family don't think it's important for me to find a partner. It's very important.
Thank you so much for your answer. I want to give a shout out to Jennifer from Facebook watching from London. Thank you for tuning in. She actually says, it's great to see two beautiful independent ladies.
Hey. Thank you.
So Elena, I'm telling you, you're a confident, independent woman, and it's so refreshing to have you on tonight's show. Can't wait till you do eventually meet your partner, inshallah. I wonder who the lucky man will be.
Inshallah. You'll have to be there when I get married, inshallah, one day.
Inshallah. Going back to the question that we were asked on WhatsApp, now, compared to my Pakistani friends, for example, they do tell me they face pressure, cultural pressure on getting married, and everyone around them is getting married, so they automatically feel that pressure. Is that the same over there in Bradford? Because I'm speaking from London.
Yeah, I definitely think it's the same. And I think it's something that maybe comes from sometimes the older generation. I think what I've seen is a shift in the new generation. You know, we're making our own choices. We have our autonomy in a different way that our previous generations didn't have. So although we are still facing the same pressures, I think we're freer to make our own decisions in a lot of ways, especially as our women are becoming more educated. You know, we're able to make decisions by ourselves, meet people ourselves, you know, through our education systems or maybe through work, in ways that our previous generation were meeting people primarily only through family, say, or through,
yeah, that is true. And mixing and revising our beliefs. Now, you talk about autonomy. Of course, we don't just wake up one day and just have this autonomy over ourselves. What would you say shaped that for you? To be so independent.
I think I come from a family of strong women. I mean, my mom's always been working. I have older sisters that have been working, I think for some part of my life, I was brought up in a single parent household, and my mum has always worked really hard for us, always taught us right from wrong. And I think what my mum gave us was a drive to be able to answer to our own moral principles, make our own money, and be responsible for ourselves.
Brilliant. That is a very good answer, because you know what, actually, Elena, sometimes there is this stigma and taboo around women that have been growing up in a single parent household. So that is very interesting, very refreshing to hear from you. Now, everyone tuned in. Remember, you can still call in live throughout the show, and that's on 01924231083. Before we answer any calls, Elena, I want to go back to you. What do you think are the main challenges that young Muslim females face?
Oh, in general, I think we face a lot of marginalization here in the UK. And it's a shame because Muslim women have so much to offer. You know, we're a varied people. We're not one type of people. We're all sorts of cultures, races, you know, demographics, ages, class. And I think often we're put into a box of you are a Muslim woman. And I think that's a real shame that we buy into this identity politics when actually we're all individuals and we all have our own strengths and weaknesses. So I think that's the biggest pressure, is like how we're putting into a box, and we need to get out of that box ourselves.
We do indeed get out of that box. Now, please explain, how do we get out of this box? And what do you mean by the box for our viewers that might not be familiar with that metaphor? What do you mean get out of the box?
Well, I think maybe governments, even the schooling system, they like to imagine Muslim women as, you know, maybe a sort of feeble figure. And the honest truth is we are everyone. Muslim women are every type of woman. So I think that the first way to get out of this box is to really look inside yourself, see what your own passions are, see where your own creativity lies, and to delve into that, to not be scared of being, you know, finding that force from within yourself that drives us all.
Very, very good point.
As a Muslim woman yourself, well, what do you think are the biggest challenges facing young Muslim women?
I think that's what it is. It's just the identity, you know, being British Muslim. But of course, I believe in intersectionality, and every young British Muslim woman probably has her specific challenges that she faces in society. And I think the issue is that the Muslim community, where I'm not viewed as fluid, as diverse, that is, I think, is the general issue. I have a question for you, actually.
Yeah.
Would you say there are any specific stereotypes on Muslim women that makes it a challenge and contributes to marginalization that you would like on this show tonight to debunk?
Oh, I think a good one is actually English. I mean, a lot of the time you can be born here. I mean, I myself have an English degree, and you wouldn't believe I've had actually people say to me, your English is really good. And I'm shocked. I'm taken aback thinking, well, of course it's good. I've been studying English. I mean, it's my first language. So I think a lot of the time it's the assumption straight from the way that you speak. Assumptions are made about, you know, education, class, identity, and I think that's a real shame for us to be pushed into, I guess, a verbal box.
Verbal box, good one. And what about representation? Is there anything you want to speak on that? Because that is quite a trending topic now.
Yeah, in terms of representation, I think with this next generation that's coming, I think you're going to see more of us in the public eye. I think a lot of the time Muslim women haven't been in the public eye, but I think there's going to be a movement for us to be in the public eye more now because of just how varied we are as a people. And how supportive we are of each other too. You know, Muslim women, you know, we support each other. We recognize each other's struggles that people from outside can't recognize in the same way. So I think it's really important we work together as well.
That is a very good point. Now, Elena, how do you think us as young Muslim women can work together and support each other?
I guess in your local communities. I mean, it depends whereabouts you're situated. If you're situated already in a Muslim community, you can support by supporting local businesses, even grouping together NGOs, community projects. I think it's really important to engage with the younger Muslim female community as well. I think we need to have a, good representation to influence and inspire the new generation of Muslim women, so they can go even further than say we would maybe able to see more Muslim women in politics. So often Muslim women are spoken about inside politics, but we don't have enough Muslim women actually speaking for Muslim women. So inshallah, that could be the next stage.
Inshallah. You know what they say, to be yourself, you must be yourself. To any sister that is considering politics, go for it. We'd love to see more Muslim women in politics representing us. Now, Elena, I'm going to ask you another question, kind of related to what you just said. You say young Muslim. How young are we speaking?
In terms of building...
in terms of the women that we need to build and support?
I think we should go to school level. And start inspiring from there, because even when I think back to myself at school, I mean, primarily I went to an all-white school, and we had no representation of Muslim women successful or inspiring us. It was predominantly white men, but we had women as well, but no Muslim women. So I think it's important for young Muslim women to see, someone that they can relate to, someone who follows the same cultural, religious values as themselves, even moral values, so that they can see themselves in that same kind of position.
Yeah, I agree. And is there any way, Elena, that you currently do this in your personal life?
Sorry?
Is there any way that you do this at the moment in your personal life? Do you have any programs, any workshops, or that you would like to share with the viewers?
Yeah, sure. Let me have a little think. I mean, when I was at uni, I would often help younger students, I guess. But I mean, it's something that I would like to work in more so. I mean, there's loads of different ways for you to engage with younger students. I play instruments. It'd be good to engage creatively with the younger students as well. But it's definitely something I would like to do more. And it's something that I hope to do in the future, definitely, now that I finished my studies.
Brilliant. Well, I'm so happy young Muslim girls have you look after them. And Amy, I actually have a question for you on WhatsApp. And that question is, do men feel intimidated when they meet a woman who is more educated than them?
Okay, education's a funny one. I don't know if men feel intimidated by more education necessarily, but I think something I learned about in English is that often women are not heard. So I could say something of value, and a man could say the exact same thing of value, but will be heard in two different ways. I may not be as heard as much as my male counterpart, and that's something we have to, as women, assert ourselves a bit more so. Maybe it's also an issue for men to recognize too. I mean, it's a very general way of looking at things, and of course it completely depends on the individual. But yeah, I mean, men and women can get intimidated. I don't know if I'd be very good at picking that up though. I'd be shocked if someone was intimidated by me, really.
You are very educated, mashallah. Another question for you, Elena, and that question came through WhatsApp. The question is, do you think young Muslims feel like marriage is even important these days?
Yeah.
It's a very good and interesting question.
I would have thought so. I mean, maybe it's not our primary driving force for all young Muslims. I mean, maybe as much as it was for the previous generation. But absolutely, I mean, half of the deen is to be married. I mean, I have none of my Muslim friends, I don't think, plan on not being married. But maybe we go around it in a peripheral way. We don't go straight head on. Maybe we look at it from the side, or we just expect it to come up. Or maybe we are searching as well, maybe in a slightly different way. So
thank you. So the primary drive is not marriage. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
So what are these primary drives, do you think?
Education is a big one here in the UK. I mean, we love to educate ourselves, and it's good to do so. I think, yeah, education, work, finances, even to be creative within oneself. I think that can also be a massive driving force. So, and I think a lot of my friends are getting married at older ages than what my mom would have said got married at. I think that there's a slight change.
Yeah, I think we are seeing that a lot more now. Now, what are the reasons, your friends' reasons for that? Are they all the same, or do they all have different reasons for that?
For getting married slightly later?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all very supportive of each other. I think we all, we have a good enough support network within each other to not think at such a young age, I have to get married, for support. And I think women, we're able to earn our own money in a way where we're not reliant on getting married necessarily straight away. We have a bit of independence. Because I think maybe some women, we like to work, we like to make our own money just in case, and then when we do get married, then we can, with our partner, decide, what the roles may be in the marriage. But at least before that, I think a lot of women want to find that independence before they get married.
Okay, and you said just in case. Just in case what? Why do women want to make their own money? Just in case what?
I mean, just in case maybe you don't get married as quickly as you may think, so that, some women maybe we're waiting to get married and then be economically dependent on our spouse. I think, so in order to not have to rush into getting married, maybe we like to make our own money first so we can buy ourselves a bit of time. It doesn't have to be so rushed. We can be patient.
Patience is a virtue. Okay, so there's a lot of talk on economic dependence. That's a very hot topic all the time. We have a caller on live one that will be joining us. And we'll just say, Salam alaikum. Salam.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, you are live on SingleMuslim.com, Single Muslim Live.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I just had a question for Elena.
It's a question for Elena?
Yes, a question for Elena, which
Go ahead.
Where she thinks a good first date would be if Shisha Lounge is a good first place to take a girl.
Oh, a good first date.
Good question. Thank you so much, Paula.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be a halal scenario, so somewhere public, somewhere in the daytime. I'd probably say for me something creative. I love to be creative. I love the music. I love the arts. I know it's a hot topic at the moment. We need to save our arts as well. So maybe art gallery would be nice. I think.
What was that? Sorry, art gallery.
Yeah, maybe an art gallery.
Would that be your ideal date? Art gallery, keep it halal.
Yeah.
Perfect. I've never had that one before.
But what about you? What would your first date be if Cola's still here?
I don't think they are, but you know what? The discussion will move forward because we have another question on WhatsApp. And that question is, why do young Muslims shy away from using marriage apps? That is a very good question, and I'm so glad you asked that. Elena, why do you feel like young Muslims shy away from using apps? For example, we have SingleMuslim.com to help us all out.
I mean, I wasn't aware we were shy of using apps. I would have thought that for matchmaking, the Muslim marriage apps would have been considerably more popular than, say, social media, because the marriage apps will, like I mentioned before, will take into all sorts of different variables that are really important for finding your lifelong partner that social media will dismiss. So no, I wasn't aware actually that the sites for, you know, single Muslims wouldn't be as popular.
I think I do hear it a lot. Perhaps it's the stigma or taboo to do with it. I'm not sure, but so yeah. Thank you so much for sending your question on WhatsApp. If you have any more questions, you can WhatsApp us on 07950797017 or call us live, even better, on 01924231083. And as always, standard rates do apply, so please make sure you also have your bill payer's permission. Elena, going forward on the search for love, what are the next steps you're going to take? And you say inner work, and is there anything specific you want to work on?
Yeah, I mean, for me to be able to find a spouse, probably the first thing that I'm going to do would be, I mean, now I finished my education, I feel a bit lost, really. I need to find, you know, my next avenue, put my passion into there, and always be bettering myself, always to look into myself, to be constantly forgiving myself, recognizing where I go wrong. Inshallah, I'll be a better person for tomorrow, be a better person for my spouse, and then inshallah, my spouse will be better for it too. It all has to come from within.
Inshallah, that does sound very sweet, and I wish you all the best in that work. You already seem like you've done loads of work, to be honest. I've really enjoyed having you on this show. Now, for the young Muslim women watching this, who've just also finished their education, who might also feel lost, what is your advice to them?
Yeah, I mean, always after university, I mean, it's really common for us to feel like, what do we do now? I mean, and the current job market may not be well suited to so many graduates. There are more people graduating now than ever before. So it's a really heavy job market. What I would advise is to not get bogged down about it, to not feel like any of your worth has been lessened by now finishing uni and maybe not being in the place that you'd imagined before. Everybody moves at their own pace, and it's really important to take your time, you know, and make the right decisions. You know, always think about morality. Is this right? Is this wrong? Because when you make the right decisions, you don't always have to worry about the consequences. So always try and move forward, I would say. Even if you're progressing at a small pace, progression is progression.
That is facts indeed. Always try to move forward. Now, Elena, if we have any young Muslim women right now watching, getting to know someone, or currently wanting to find their life partner, what is an advice you would give, or characteristics you think they should look out for?
I would look out for someone who listens to you, someone who's attentive, but yeah, no, really someone who's listening, you know, someone who isn't just there for, you know, shallow attributes. You want, as women, you know, we have a deepness within inside us, we have a fire inside us, and that should be appreciated and nurtured, but also not to necessarily look to your spouse also for confirmation of who you are. That comes from inside, you know. I can't stress enough how important it is as women to find our own worth rather than relying on it from another source. Because as women, you know, look at our history, you know, we've always been marginalized to a degree. I mean, Islamic history maybe is a lot better than Western history. But even still, it would be to find the worth in yourself, always.
Brilliant. I feel that. I have a question for you, very random, but have you ever visited Pakistan?
You know, I haven't. I am Punjabi. I've been to India, but I haven't been to Pakistan. Inshallah, one day though.
What was your experience in India? How did they perceive you?
Okay, so when I went to India 2 years ago, and I was staying in Delhi, so tensions were quite high, and I was staying at an Islamic university there, Jamia. I mean, Jamia has been under a lot of scrutiny recently as well, obviously with the new Citizen Act that Modi has put in. So when I went to Delhi, um, tensions were high for Muslims at the time, but overall, if I look beyond that, I mean, it had such a soul and such a color and such a vibrancy. Here in the West, we don't have. Here, when I'm staying in London, Leicester, even Bradford to a degree, we're all in a rush. We're just trying to make our money. We're trying to get home. I don't know why we're all rushing, but in India, things seem to be at more of a comfortable pace, one where you can appreciate your day a bit more.
Yes, that is a good point. Now, Elena, going back to you specifically, and I've repeated this throughout the show, but you are a confident, independent, and very well-spoken and outspoken woman, which we love. But because of that, do you ever get abuse online or get attacked online? You're tackling. I'm guessing that's a yes.
I don't know if I get attacked. I tend to only speak positively about issues. So I don't know if I get attacked online. I'm trying to think if there has been a time when I have. No, I don't think so. I don't think. Maybe I've made one or two
online.
But
Speaking of online, we actually have thousands
on social media.
Time. And speaking about online, we have thousands of viewers watching us from all over the world. Shout out to our viewers in Saudi Arabia, in the Philippines, in London. We are more than honored to have you here tonight. It's some amazing stuff. We actually have another question on WhatsApp. Thank you so much for sending that question through. Elena, this question is for you. Would you ever marry someone that is older than you?
That is older than me?
That is older than you?
Yeah, I would, yeah. I mean, as long as we were compatible, we mixed well, we were vibing, you know, our moral compasses were aligned, then yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to someone who's older than me. I mean, a lot of my friends, I do think I act way beyond my age anyway. I spend my nights playing Scrabble, doing crosswords, so maybe someone older.
You're an old soul. Do you feel like older men are more mature then?
I mean, that is what people say, that men tend to mature maybe slightly slower to begin with than women. I've heard that. I don't know if I've experienced that myself. I would be open to either a little bit younger, a little bit older, nothing too extreme.
Oh, that's so open-minded. It's good, you know. It's good to not limit ourselves and limit our types. There'll be more options. They'll find our partner.
I mean, here in the West, we're limited a lot anyway, you know? I mean, as Muslims, we're already quite limited to who our partners can be when we're only looking inside the Muslim diaspora or even, you know, the convert population. So we're already quite limited. So I wouldn't be so limited by or restricted by age.
No restrictions on age. Another question on WhatsApp, moving forward. The question is, a very good question, Elena. Are you ready for it?
Okay, I'm ready.
I want you to give it your all. What should women avoid?
Sorry?
What should women avoid?
What should women avoid? Someone that's too addicted to the social media, I would say. That's a big red flag for me.
What about fake people?
Social media, or maybe someone who doesn't understand their own moral compass. They haven't quite come to terms yet with what they think is right or wrong, and instead maybe may follow a family member, like a parent. You know, they're reliant on that. I think it's really important as a man and as a woman for us to find our independence in our morality and our principles.
Very philosophical. What about fake people? Is that a concern for us women? Should we avoid it? People that put on a facade? Red flag or no?
Yeah, I mean, it's really dangerous when you're dealing with someone who's acting all the time. You don't really know what's truth and what's not. So definitely look out for red flags regarding whether this person is being fake or not. And the problem is, if someone is really so good at being fake, how will you know at the same time? You know, if they're really that good. But you know what? We can't all lie forever. You can't always keep up an act. I mean, Judge Judy says you don't need a good memory to tell the truth. You know, when you're lying, you always need to be remembering. So
I agree. I'm a firm believer in the truth always comes out.
It does always come out. It does. And you would want it really for it to come out in this life rather than the next. So.
Indeed. And you know what, Elena? I feel like as women, based on our previous experiences, we all have red flags. My red flag might be different to yours based on our experience. So what is your red flag? If you can name one red flag. Think about it. We'll come back to the question. I also want to ask you, if you are on a matchmaking website, let's just say SingleMuslim.com, if you are on SingleMuslim.com, what 3 words would you use to describe yourself?
I'd probably say chatterbox. I'd probably say outdoorsy and hungry. I like to eat a lot.
Hungry? So I'm surprised you're not going to a restaurant for your first date.
I mean, home cooked food is the best way. I mean, food is a way to the woman's heart, right? So.
Good question. Do you feel like your partner needs to know how to cook?
Yeah, and if he doesn't, I will happily teach him. It's really important to know how to cook.
Aww.
So, I mean, I've been, as a student, it's been so, if I didn't know how to cook, I don't know how I would have survived. So, yeah, you have to pass that on. I think it's a good gift to have as well.
I like those 3 words. They're very multifaceted. Chatterbox. Has a guy ever told you, you know, you talk too much?
Yeah, I can see my cousins telling me that. Yeah, definitely.
Bless you. Well, you know what, Elena, we really enjoyed having you on this show. You gave us insights from many different perspectives. It was very refreshing to hear from a young, confident Muslim woman.
Oh, thank you so much. No, you are confident. You're the confident young Muslim woman, and I really appreciate you having me here as well. I'm
so honoured to have you as my first guest, as the new host. You've been absolutely brilliant. And just to wrap it up, I have one last question for you.
Sure.
And this question is, so we're wrapping up the show. I want you to give one last general advice on any young Muslim women facing challenges in finding a partner before you wrap up the show.
Sure. I mean,
something for us to all go away with.
Yeah, for any young Muslim that's trying to find a partner, don't be harsh on yourself, nor don't be too harsh on your partner. You know, be realistic about yourself, be realistic about your partner. Inshallah, if you keep yourself pure, you keep yourself happy, you're forgiving of yourself and others, inshallah, you'll attract the same partner. You know? You give out goodness, inshallah, you'll get that.
Inshallah, Elena, you'll get the right partner for you, inshallah. All our viewers will. Thank you so much to our viewers watching from all over the world across different platforms. We really enjoyed having you tonight. And a very, very big thank you to Elena for joining us. It's been an amazing guest. We'll see you all next week, hopefully, and at the same time, same place, 9:30 at British Muslim TV, where I'll have another guest, and we'll be talking about a slightly different topic, and that's entering a relationship as a single parent. Remember, you can keep joining this conversation on social media. We are on Instagram, and you can watch us now and Thursday, and that's on 07950797017. And on social media, it's at British Muslim TV. And it's a very interesting evening with Elena. Be also consider looking at SingleMuslim.com, which do sponsor the show. Maedeh Sharifi and the lovely team at British Muslim TV. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.